Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to deal with Maxims Statutory Interpretation, and first of all I am going to deal with Noacitur and soliicis. So the word Noacitur means to know and soliicis means association. Together Noacitur and soliicis means knowing from association. So thus under the doctrine of Noacitur and soliicis, the questionable meaning of a word or a doubtful word can be derived from its association with other words within the context of the phrase. Within the context of the phrase is important thing, because Noacitur and soliicis is much wider than egusdem generis. This means that words in a list with a statute within a statute have a meaning that's related to each other. For example, there is a case state of Assam versus R. Muhammad. In this case, SC made use of the word to arrive at the meaning of the word posting, used in Article 211-233 of the Constitution of India. It held that since the word posting occurs in association with the words appointment and promotion, this single word posting occurs in association with the words promotion and appointment. So the word posting derives its meaning from the words appointment and promotion. Together with it took its color from them, and so it means assignment of an appointee or a promotee to a position. Assignment of an appointee or a promotee to a position, and it does not mean transfer of a person from one station to another. So this is the definition of this is the example of Noacitur and soliicis, which was held in state of Assam versus R. Muhammad. Thus, if multiple words having similar meaning are put together, they are to be understood in their collective meaning. So if multiple words means there is a lot of words having of course similar meaning are put together in a single sentence, then they are to be understood in their collective meaning. What does they collectively mean? According to Maxwell, this rule means that when two or more words susceptible to analogous meaning are clubbed together, they are understood to be used in their cognate sense. They take as it were their color from each other. So they take as it were their color from each other, i.e. the more general is restricted to a sense analogous to a less general. But Noacitur and soliicis is different from egusdem generis, because the rule puts the words in the context of the whole phrase and not just relation to nearby words. In case of egusdem generis, the words to be understood, one word to be understood in relation to nearby words. But in case of Noacitur and soliicis, this rule puts the whole words in the context, the words in the context of the whole phrase, and not just in relation to nearby words. So, thus we find that Noacitur and soliicis is wider than egusdem generis. The language of phrase can be used as a guide to arrive at the true meaning of the word. Another case is here, and this rule is best illustrated in a very important case, that is Foster versus defecation. Involving a statute which stated that explosives taken into a mine must be in a case or canister. Okay, here the words case and canister are under repetition. Here the defendant used a cloth bag. The courts had to consider whether a cloth bag was within the definition. Under Noacitur and soliicis, it was held that the bag could not have been within the statutory definition because Parliament's intention was referring to a case or canister of the same strength, case or container of the same strength as canister. So this was held in the case Foster versus defecation, which does not relate to the maxim Noacitur and soliicis. So next comes certain points regarding Noacitur and soliicis. Noacitur and soliicis is only a rule of construction. It is just a rule of construction, and it cannot be used when it is clear that the word with wider meaning is deliberately used in order to increase the scope. So in those cases, it cannot be used. and it can only be used when the intention of the legislator in using a word with wider sense along with words with narrower meaning is not clear. That means if there is one word which is used in wider sense and another word which is used in narrower sense, or which words with narrower meaning, and both the meaning is not clear, the collective meaning of those words are not clear. And further, this rule can only be used when the associated words have analogous meanings. So the associated words means the words which are together associated with each other. These words must have analogous meaning. Then comes it cannot be used when the words have disjoint. It cannot be used when the words have disjoint meaning, means they are not similar, okay, not analogous. Then in those cases it cannot be used. For example, in the case of Lokmat newspaper versus Shankar Prasad, this is the third case we have found regarding Noacitur sources. Lokmat newspaper versus Shankar Prasad, it was held that the words discharge and dismissal do not have the same analogous meaning, means they do not have similar meaning, and so this rule cannot be applied. So that means these words have disjoint meaning. Discharge and dismissal, there is no relation with the word between both the words discharge and dismissal, so this rule cannot be applied. This was held in Lokman newspaper versus Shankar Prasad. This is the third case which we have read. Then the second maxim is egusdem generis, and literal meaning of the word egusdem generis is of same kind or of the same genus. So egusdem generis or of the same genus rule is similar to narrower than the more general of Noacitur sources. So it is narrower, much similar but narrower. So that means Noacitur sources is wider than the maxim egusdem generis. It operates where a broad or open-ended term appears following a series of more restrictive terms in the text of a statute. So first of all, there must be a statute. Okay, there must be a statute. There must be some text in the statute, that's obvious. So it operates with a broad or open-ended term. So there must be a broad or open-ended term as well as a series of restrictive terms in the text of a statute. And the broad or open-minded term must appear following a series of more restricted terms in the text of a statute. So in only these cases this rule can be applied. Apart from this, where a term listed are similar enough to constitute a class or genus, and those terms listed in the statute are similar, they must be similar enough to constitute a class or genus, the courts will presume in interpreting the general words that follow that they are. The courts will presume, it is just in presumption, in interpreting the general words. Means, for example, general words may be broad or open-minded word, which follows a series of more restrictive term. In interpreting the general words that follow, that they are intended to apply only to things of the same genus as the particular items listed. So they are intended to apply only the things of the same genus as the particular item listed, and the particular item, of course, as mentioned above, constitutes a class or genus. Then according to this rule, when particular words pertaining to a class or genus, those particular words which pertains to a class or genus are followed by general words. These words are followed by general words. The general words are construed and limiting to things of the same kind. So this is the main rule. General words are construed to limiting the things of the same kind, means it's a particular word or same kind as those specified by class or a genus. The meaning of an expression with wider meaning is limited to the meaning of the preceding specific expression. So there may be preceding specific expression. One is specific, another is wider. So the meaning of an expression with wider meaning is limited. This is limited to the meaning of the preceding, which it precedes, preceding specific expression. So that means in a statute, this is a statute, there is a specific expression or specific term, and there is a general meaning of a general expression, general term. So it will be construed as limiting or belonging to those specific terms which forms a particular class or genus of same kind means nearby words. These are nearby words and it is to be construed as of same kind or having similar meaning. However, for this rule to apply, the preceding words must for a specific class or genus. So that means the preceding words must be of a specific class or genus. Further, this rule cannot be applied in the words with a wider meaning appear before the words with a specific or narrower meaning. That means, so there are some particular words, okay. So this is the words with wider meaning, and the words with is narrower meaning follows the words with wider meaning. So that means words with wider meaning appears before the words with narrower meaning. So in this case, this rule cannot be applied. This rule can only be applied when in a text of a statute, first of all, there must be words or terms or expression with narrower meaning. Then the words, terms or expression with wider meaning should follow the words expression, follow or succeed the words, terms or expression of narrower meaning, and this narrower meaning must belong to some specific class or genus. Then the court will presume that this word with wider meaning, because this word has wider meaning, okay, it could be construed in many ways, but it has to be limited to meet the intention of the legislature. That's why the court will presume this this term with wider meaning as belonging to the same class or genus as the word with narrower meaning. Okay, so that means the words will be, the wider term will be restricted or limited to the narrower term. This is a rule of egusdem generis. So then there is a case in UP State Electricity Board versus Harishankar, UP State Electricity Board versus Harishankar. What was held in this case? SC held that the following conditions must exist for the application of this rule. What are those rules? Number 1, the statute contains an enumeration of specific words. So there must be enumeration of some specific words, first of all. Then second, the subject of the enumeration constitute a class and category, or those specific words must constitute or must belong to certain kinds of class or category. Then the class or category is not exhausted by the enumeration. It must not be exhausted, means it must be restrictive or narrow. It must have narrow or restrictive meaning. A general term is present at the end of the enumeration. So there must be a general term present at the end of the enumeration, and there is no indication of a different legislative intent. So only in these cases, these are the conditions for the application of the rule of egusdem generis as held on UP State Electricity Board versus Harishankar. So Justice Hidayatullah explained the principle of this rule through the following example. In the expression books, pamphlets, newspapers, and other documents. So this is an example as explained by Justice Hidayatullah. Books, okay, books, pamphlets, newspapers, and other documents. Private letters may not be held included if other documents be interpreted egusdem generis with what goes before. So that means, so we have understood the meaning of books, pamphlets, and newspaper, okay, and this kind of specific words follows the word the word other document follows these words books, pamphlets, and newspaper. Okay, so now these are words of terms of a specific kind, and they belong to the same genus or species. So it's like books or newspaper or pamphlet, same genus or species. And other documents, the word other document is used here. So the word other document may have wider meaning, as it may include private document, public document, or many other kinds of documents. But how the court will interpret this word other document? In this case, In this case, private letters may not held. Private letters may not held. Letters may be public or private. So private letters may not be held included if other documents be interpreted egusdem generis with what goes before. So private letters will not include under the same definition because the word other document will be restricted or limited to this specific word. But a provision which reads newspapers or other documents likely to convey secrets to the enemy. The words other document will include other documents of any kind because and will not take their meaning from newspaper. So that means because the words is construed or used in a different way, such like newspapers and other documents. Okay. Then second part provides likely to convey secrets to enemy. So of course certain kind of private letters and documents will also include here because the word secret is used here. So it's a different rule. That's why they will not derive their meaning from newspaper or any other any kind of preceding words. Then there is a illustrated case, Ishwar Singh Bagga versus State of Rajasthan. This is a case of Rajasthan and the name of the plaintiff is Ishwar Singh Bagga, where the words other person in the expression any police officer authorized in this behalf or any person authorized in this behalf by the state government. So any person authorized by the state government. Okay, so other person. Okay, in section 129 of Motor Vehicle Act was held not to be interpreted egusdem generis because the mention of a single species of police officers do not constitute a genus. Because police officer is a word which only is of a single species. It has no genus, means there is no other kind of sub. It cannot be divided in any. It has no genus. So then comes exception. It can be seen that this rule is an exception to the rule of construction that general words should be given their full and natural meaning. It is a canon of construction like many other rules that are used to understand the intention of the legislature. This rule covers the rank principle what goes as follows. Where a string of item of a certain rank or level is followed by general residuary words, it is presumed that the residuary words are not intended to include items of a higher rank than those specified. By specifying only items of lower rank, the impression is created that higher ranks are not intended to be covered. So it is same as egusdem generis. If they were, then their mention will be expected as for surety. For example, another example is here. For example, the first is tradesman, artifice, workman, laborer, or other person whatsoever was held not to include person above the artisan class. That means because tradesman, okay, artificer, workman, labor, same word, tradesman, almost same. Artificer, workman, labor, and other person whatsoever, and the word again other person whatsoever was held not to include persons above the artisan class. That means it is not to include person like the doctors, lawyers, or any other kind of engineers. This kind of person are not included. Similarly, the first copper, brass, pewter, and tin, and all other metals. Okay, other metals. A local act of 1825 was held not to include precious metals such as gold and silver. So these are two examples. We have found I think 4 examples in total and 2 case laws. What's happening? Then comes the last maxim, that is Redenno Singula Singulis. The Redenno Singula Singulis principle concerns the use of words distributively. Where a complex sentence has more than one subject. So for its purpose, there must be a complex sentence. Okay. So this complex sentence must have more than one subject. More than one subject means 2, 3, 4 subjects, and more than one object. 1, 2, 3 object. This is subject. This is object. It may be the right construction to render each to each. Means one subject to one object, one subject to one object, one subject to one object. It may be the right construction to render each to each by reading the provision distributively. So we have to distribute those things properly, and applying each object to its appropriate subject, and applying each object to its appropriate subject. A similar principle applies to verbs and their subjects and to other parts of speech as well. A typical application of this principle is where a testator says, I devise and bequeath all my real and personal property to be. Now here, I devise and bequeath all my real and personal property to be is a complex sentence. Okay, it has many sub-sentences. It is a complex sentence. Now, the term devise is appropriate only to real property. Appropriate only to real property, devise. And bequeathed is appropriate only to personal property. So the sentence will be, I devise all my real property and bequeathed all my personal property to be. That means I'm showing you. So it will be, I devise all my real property. So one subject to one object, one subject to one object. That means distribution, distributively, each to each. Okay, that means render each to each. So I devise all my real property and bequeath all my personal property to be. So this is what Redenno Singula Singulis is all about. So there is a case law. This rule has been applied in a case of Kateshwar Vittal Kamal versus K. Rangappa Beliga. Kateshwar Vittal Kamal versus K. Rangappa Beliga. In this construction to the provision of Article 304 of the Constitution of India, which reads, provided that no bill or amendment for the purpose of Clause B. No bill or amendment. Okay, it's bill as well as amendment for the purpose of Clause B shall be introduced or moved in the legislation of a state without the previous sanction of the president. So sanction of the president is required. So it was held that the word introduced, deduced applies to bill and moved applies to amendment. Okay, so that's very easy and as well as interesting. So no bill or amendment.